Tatrayam Veram Shakti Samarudas Advamala Vibhushita Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Aneka Janma Samprapta Sarva Karma Vidayine Swamajnana Prabhavena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Nagururarikam Tattvam Nagururarikam Tapa Tattvam Jnana Param Nasti Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Anata Shri Jananato Madhuru Shri Jagadguru Mama Masara Bhutatma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Jnanamulam Guru Murti Guru Jamulam Guru Param Mantramulam Guru Vakyam Mokshamulam Guru Kripa Guru Param Devatam Guru Parataram Nasti Shri Gurave Namah Sapta Sagara Pariyanta Kirtasanarikam Sulam Guru Ramte Sayogindu Sasam Shela Dullabam Arushte Guru Shrata Guru Vrishte Nakashana Tasmat Sarva Paryanena Shri Gurum Sharanam Vraje Gurureva Jagat Sarvam Brahma Vishnu Shivamakam Guru Parataram Nasti Tasmat Sampujaya Guru Jnana Vijnana Sahitam Radyate Guru Bhaktita Guru Parataram Nasti Deyo So Guru Margidi Nasti Neti Neti Tiveshti Manasa Vacha Sacheva Nityamara Dayet Guru Guru Kripa Prasadena Brahma Vishnu Sarashiva Samartha Prabhavadocha Kevalam Guru Sevaya Deva Kinnaranandarva Pitaro Yakshacharana Mayopina Jananti Guru Shushusha Nirvidim Ankara Garbena Tapovidya Balampita Samsara Puharavarte Shaya Sarva Siddhasya Guru Seva Paramukha Sarvanda Pradayakam Sarva Sukya Karam Nityam Mukti Mukti Vidayakam Srima Parabrahma Guru Smarani Srima Parabrahma Guru Varani Srima Parabrahma Guru Namani Srima Parabrahma Guru Vajani Brahmanandam Paramasukharam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Vanvatikam Dadana Sadaksham Advamasyari Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimamachanam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavachitam Trigunaraitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Vasam Nirakaram Niranjanam Nityapuram Chiranandam Guru Brahmanam Mamyam Gurudambuje Karnika Madhya Samste Simasane Samsya Divya Murti Jaye Gurum Chandra Kalakakasham Shipustaka Vishavaram Dharanam Shvetambaram Shveta Vilepa Pushpam Mukta Vibhusham karmanashanam sheva sukarma siddham bhavet asidam sadaye kaya navagrahamayaka visvananashanam sheva visvanapalapayakam sarvabhagyadayakam sara ayuraroganeshvarya putrapautrabhavardhanam akamata shriraka japam mokshamavapnuyat avegavyam sakamatu labhate chanya janmani sarvadukham bhayam vignam nashtaye chapaharakam sarvabada pashamanam dharmada kamamoksham namyam chintayate kamam tam tam prapnoti nishitam amikasya kamadenu kalpana kalpakarpa chintamani shrivitasya sarvamangalakarakaam mokshayeturjane nityam mokshashriyamavapnuyat bhogakamo jate vyove asya kama falapradam apekshatar sasurascha ganapadyasna vaishnava sevascha sariram dehi satyam satyam Atayami vivaranane sagare vasaripire atavari aralaye shakti devale goshte sarva devale shve vacheta dati muleva mate vrindavane tata pavitrene male snane nityanusthana topiva nirvedane monena sakamitam samachare smashane vayapumotu vantamuratike tata siddhanti gotare mule chitta vriksha sasanivo asya sedyanti nanyatha shiva karmani sarvani diksha karta tapamsi cha samsaramalanaśartam bhavapashani vrittaye guru gitam rasisnanam tadvadyakute sada Saiva cha guru sakshat sada sabrahma vittama tasya sthanani sarvani haritani samshaya sarva shuddha pavitro swabhavadyatra tishtati tatra deva gana sarve kshetre kute vasanti asanasta shayaropa darshanti tavranapi sutto vajagrato piva jismasa sarabhyane guru gita japena tu tasya darshana matrena punarjanmana vidyate samudre chayata toyam shire shiram prategatam inne kunde yata kashas atama paramatmani ate padyani jivama paramamani liyate aikyana ramate gyani yatra tatra divani cha
Krishna
Hare Rama Sadhgurunad Maharaj Ki Jai. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sunday morning Satsang. Jai Gurudev. Jai Gurudev. So today, as I stand before you, I'm kind of reflecting on a few days that I just spent in Vermont, which was very, very relaxing. It was a lot of history. It was in the town of Woodstock, Vermont, and it reflects history, the 1800s, the 1900s, a lot of pastures, a lot of dairy farms, cows everywhere, families that have been there for generation after generation, very quiet, very peaceful. And as I was chanting the Guru Gita just now, I was thinking, boy, in this room this morning, there is a lot of history that span over 20, 30, 40, 50 years of many different people in this room walking the Siddha path, understanding the Siddha path. So for a few of these people, I just want to acknowledge their presence. So the first one that I would like to acknowledge is we have Durga Flipman, who is known to all of us since the 70s. And her mother, her brother, and her sister are all here in the same room. And for those of us who walk this path, many of us, when we begin yoga, we don't necessarily have our entire family right there near our side. We begin alone. We walk with courage. We walk with patience. We walk with understanding. We commit to that which Baba gave, the teachings, the practice, the sadhana, and we walk, and we walk, and we walk, and we observe, and we watch, and sometimes, most times, we begin to look next to ourselves and we see exactly what we have here this morning. So I know for Durga, it must be wonderful again. Last year we had her brother and her mother, and now Pam from California. So welcome to all of you. It's wonderful to have you in the Sangha and in the community for these days. Also, we have Mukti Sydney Miller, who is in the back over there. You can raise your hand. She's from Synchronicity, but she's from Baba Muktananda's time, from the 70s. So she also began walking this path in the 70s and has been committed to it ever since. She resides out in Virginia at Synchronicity. The founder, Master Charles Swami Vivekananda, who's known to many of us, and has done a beautiful job there of maintaining and sustaining his work there. And when she arrived here a few days ago, she literally, from the time she walked into the temple, all she did was cry for over 24 hours and said, I am so happy to be home. So we welcome you, Mukti, and it's wonderful to have you with us. She'll be leaving us shortly in a few days so that the other co-director of Synchronicity can come here for the course. So she'll go and he'll come, Mark Hayes. And we also have with us from Florida, we have Girija and Eddie, who is known to the Shanti Mandir community since its inception, but also they were married by Baba Muktananda up in South Fallsburg. So their history goes back a long, long time, again, to the 70s. And she also was very committed to running a center wherever she lived, whether it was on Long Island, whether it was up in Fallsburg, passed up to that small town up there. She had an affiliation with the Shivananda Yoga Ranch up there. Swami Vishnudevananda did a lot of great work for him. And then Shanti Mandir since its inception. And then when the pandemic hit, she said, okay, I think the satsang piece now is done. I'm in my 70s. I'm getting older. I think everybody wants to be in their own home, all of that. And just before she got here, I get an email saying, we're starting satsang again. And I'm like, oh my God, again, here we go. So pioneers of all of that. And also, I wanted to share one thing. So in the past, yesterday, there's been a lot going on here. So yesterday, Shakti Peets, the temple that we were at on Hillside Avenue, it's 25 years since the Swami there, Swami Harish Chandrapuri, founded Shiv Shakti Peeth. That's their second or third location, but for him pioneering and leaving India, coming here, he's also celebrating his 25 years of doing this work, having a temple there, leaving and coming to the United States, and again, putting in all that purushart, all of that effort that it takes to create something from nothing, and planting the seeds of Dharma. And last night, all of the subjects were on Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. So that was the subject matter for last night. And then tonight is another one of those Sant Samagams, the gathering of all of the monks that speak on subjects. And tonight, the second one will be at Hindu Center with a brief meeting at Divya Dham. Also, Swami Satyananda from Gita Mandir. That'll all happen this afternoon. So now that brings me into a transition of the week that we have coming up. So we will be saying goodbye to a few people, and one of those is Sandy Bonham, who has been with Shanti Mandir for many, many years, and a beautiful, lovely, sweet presence that just, you'll find her under a tree, you'll find her out by one of the statues, you'll find her sweeping the porch, you'll find her in a number of places, but always very quiet, contemplative, and just pursuing that which the teachings and the scriptures share with us. So she goes back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania today. Also, at the beginning of the week, Fernando Callisto, who's also known to this path, him and his wife Sophie, he departs this week as well. But whenever all of these presences, and that's what I want to say that I'm feeling so strongly, is that Shanti Mandir is a beacon for all of these presences to gather, to practice, to continue, to persevere, and leave an incredible legacy of yoga, of Baba, the living tradition of his work, the living tradition of the sadhana, the living tradition of experience that we all carry and that we all walk with every single step. So in saying all of that, that brings me to our next group of acknowledgement, which is all of the teachers who are here in residence, which I'm really, really pleased. Everybody's here. It's already, we're on Sunday, and the retreat starts on Saturday, June 11th, and we'll have many more visitors and residents, participants joining us throughout the week. But by the time we reach June 10th, which is Friday evening, the ashram will be abuzz with all of that Shakti to learn, Shakti to know, Shakti to imbibe, the Shakti to understand this incredible, incredible lineage and tradition that we are all so deeply appreciative and grateful for, and so fortunate to be a part of. So we have Paula Moss, who's over here against the wall, and who's also, her son arrives today as well. So it seems to be a bit of family week as well. Waters all merging in this beautiful ocean that is here, ocean of love, ocean of devotion. So we have Paula Moss, who just came in yesterday for Rome, and she'll be here, and we'll have all of her yoga understanding and sharings throughout the course, the 16 days. We also have Mark Ketchell, Shivananda from Gainesville, Florida, mantra and meditation and all that's dear to him. So he'll be here for the 16 days. We have Dana, who's already in residence, who is known to almost everyone. And he's will be talking a lot about the mind and the poems of the saints and his own flavor that he brings to Baba's teaching. And then we have Larry Holmes, who sadhana and daily life, the yogic tradition, the history of the Siddha tradition, and all of this, again, as I've said before, For those of us who aren't taking the entire 16-day course, on June 25th, June Saturday, it will be treated and offered as like one of our global intensives where you can participate in it in person here with all of the teachers and with Gurudev, or you can virtually participate in it. So I know many people have registered already. You can continue to do that, but a wonderful opportunity, if you're not coming for the 16 days, to get the essence of all that was bestowed during these 16 days from all the various teachers and what that, and the experience of it. So without any further delay, we'll hear from Gurudev now, and then we'll conclude with our 11 ohms that we all do now at the end of satsang, so 11 group ohms together, and followed by the Ektak mantra, which is the one that teaches us all about to walk together, to think together, and may our minds be united with the same oneness, with the same philosophy, with the same initiative. So, and then that will conclude our satsang. Not to put a rush on anything, but also know that Gurudev will be departing the ashram this afternoon at 2 p.m. in order to get down to Queens for both of these programs. So welcome, welcome, welcome again to everyone. Thank you all for your presence here each Sunday and all that you offer to making Shanti Mandir Walden here what it is. Sadhgurunad Maharaj Ki Jai.
What Mark is doing there. So, Sadhgurunad Maharaj Ki Jai. So I thought I'd be a little bit serious, but also requesting everyone to have a sense of lightness. I don't know if the two go together, but I think that that's possible. So, did you say marker works or doesn't work? Chalta hai na? I thought we use these 2-3 weeks that we have together from the Patanjali Yoga Sutras on Sutra number 2, which I think everybody knows is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So I'm going to try and use these next 3 Sundays, depending on how every Sunday is when I wake up. Of course, I wake up every day, hopefully, but especially on Sunday, because we have satsang. Sometimes I'm all prepared all week long, and come Sunday morning, I look at it, it makes no sense. And sometimes it makes total sense, and I come here, and it makes no sense.
But the question is, does it make sense to us?
Well, if it doesn't make sense to me, it can make sense to you. Because I always think what Swami Chinmayananda said is that the ruminations have to be loud. The ruminations have to be loud, and hopefully they are heard by the audience. So never speak to the audience as if you're teaching or whatever happens on a Sunday, preaching, teaching. But it should just be I'm actually nervous. My knees are shaking, which is not normal anymore. 40 years later, you should be pretty good. But some of the movement is because of that, because I think some part of me is excited for what we will have over the next 2 weeks. But also, as Devyani said, a lot of history. And a lot of history, for me, it's from birth. So, and of course, when it's from birth, then I assume from what the scriptures say that it's from previous lifetimes. So it's not a first up or a first on, but it's something that probably has happened a few lifetimes. And so here we are. This body will be 60, and so as we had the youth here yesterday, and I said to them, for some of us, that was myself, Larry, and Niteshwari, I said, we've been on this for as long as your parents have lived, and twice or thrice as much as you have lived. They were all good, and as often happens in satsang, there are always more women than there are men. Now, Maitreyi, you didn't ask that question. For the feminine, they're always worried about what about the feminine. But I shared with her that there are questions to which actually there are no answers. There's just no logical, rational answers. Even this sutra, when we actually begin to look at it, yoga is unification, unite, yoking together. Chitta Vritti Nirodha, Swami Venkateshananda says that there are Chitta is translated as mind, as subconscious mind, as buddhi, as ego. One instrument that performs these 4 functions. Vritti is translated by everybody as modifications. So Swamiji says that feedback. He says, so this 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have actually 4 vrittis, 4 modifications. Because I, the individual, have possessiveness and, meaning singular, not more than one, idea. So when we think that I want to actually come to a place where the scripture would say, first try and remove this. The most difficult thing to do, because I want ownership. I want ownership of my idea. I want ownership of my thought. So I often tell people, when you speak, just say, now, of course, we use this when we want to protect ourselves. When we know that my idea could land me in trouble. So then we say, we have an idea. So then you have to ask, who is the we? The we is the me. Which turned upside down kind of reads like that, So I thought, many of us have been together for a long time. And when you come into this as a child, people look at you that you don't know, that you don't understand, that you can't relate, but which is not really true. Children are really smart. I'm older, I'm smarter. But I'm not so sure if we're actually smarter, because by now, what has happened to, I'll keep erasing as I keep going, just so I can try and get in the next 3 Sundays what all I want to try and get in. Because what has happened, I thought, if we just take vritti, very simply is, first I would say is, it's a vritti. And then that brings another vritti, which is, fear. Worry brings fear. Fear then brings I don't know if they are all related in this particular manner. I'm just writing them as they come up for me. And this is what actually drives society and drives this. Devani says is too strong a word, but it's there. And the sages would actually, when you begin to look at it and think about it, in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, these are talked about as demoniacal qualities, Rakshasa guna. So there's lots more. And somehow you look at, there are relationships to all of this. And so therefore I often think we need counseling. We need therapy. We need therapy because I need to understand what is this? These are all little seeds. Some Vishwashanji said, seeds are little. These are all little seeds that are there inside each one of us. It's not a tree. It's not a humongous thing that's obvious. And most people think that I can, meditate this away. And I would say, no. You cannot meditate it away. It doesn't just, you can't just say, you cannot just say, I'm going to om it away. Well, now, the other word just came, and when I said om it away is, it's like, om it away. You are frustrated because you're realizing my om is not awaying all this. It's not going anywhere. I mean, you meet people who have meditated, who have done Kirtan, who have, who have scriptural study. And especially as a young child, you know exactly what pin to push. And that volcano erupts. And then you think to yourself, I thought they meditate. I thought they have the Prasthanatraya, the Vedanta Upanishad Brahma Sutra down. Huh? They're always going, Hari Ram, Hari Ram. And you just pinch them or kick them or do something. They should just, it shouldn't matter to them. They should just be in Hari Ram, Hari Ram. But they're like, who kicked me? And then you look at them like, oh, who? So, when we think of this yogas chitta vritti nirodha, it is only actually, to me, I think of it as the first sutra, though it is in Patanjali, the second sutra, because the first one is Atha Yoga Anushasanam, that I will speak about yoga. So, but the very first teaching is this. So I think how important it must be that if I don't get this, I can't even actually get further. If I have not understood this sutra, my meditation, my study, my whatever sadhana, spiritual practice I am doing, okay, it's not bad. Swamiji, I heard him the other day say, he asked an elderly Swamiji, Swami Tyagmurtiji, he said, Maharaji, we do all this swadhyaya, we study, we teach, he said, and who has understood what is Brahman? Atato Brahma Jigyasa is the first sutra of Brahma Sutras. Like now we will discuss Brahman, we'll discuss the Absolute. And the Swamiji said, he said, I was young, so I thought, the Swamiji's been at it for 70 plus years, so I'll ask him, Swamiji, what's the use? He said, Swamiji smiled, he said, the scriptural protection. We are continuing the tradition of knowledge. Even if nobody understands what is Brahman, if nobody has understood any of this, but at least here we are 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 years later discussing a sutra, an aphorism, a shloka, a verse that was written X years ago. And we are attempting today, in this 21st century, to still work and become clear of all of this. So in my experience and understanding, I believe that I, meaning the individual, has to first acknowledge that I have these situations. Another German word that has come into English is Angst. Ich habe Angst. So Germans say, I have, Angst is actually fear. It says, I have fear. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what? So recently I read a story that they say occurs in the Tibetan tradition. I'll attempt to make a drawing. I'm not a good drawing person, but there is, something like this. It's an owl, one, okay, and then next to him is, that looks like an infinity sign, yes. And this is an owl 2. So this is owl 1, and that's owl 2. And this owl has a big snake in his mouth, and this owl has a small mouse. So that's a mouse, and that's a snake. So the Tibetan story says that this owl has the mouse, this owl has the snake, and they're both gonna eat it. They're both, meaning this owl is gonna eat his mouse, that owl is gonna eat his snake. But now all of a sudden, the snake sees the mouse. So his mouth starts watering. He's excited that there's a meal in front of him. Now this mouse, when he sees the snake, is afraid that he is becoming a meal for the snake. And so his mouth is watering, he is shaking, and the two owls look at each other and they say, what is going on? So the one owl says to the other, this is what our scriptures call jiveshana, putreshana, lokeshana, the want, the desire to be liked by people, the desire to have wealth, the desire to have children. Like there are these things, the desire to eat so I can live. And so the one owl says, though obvious that I am in the mouth of death, though obvious that the snake is in the mouth of the owl, so death is real, though obvious that the mouse is in the mouth of the owl, so death is obvious, but yet his mouth is watering, he is shaking because he sees that. So the sage here asks, what is going on? So the storyteller here tells us that actually this is fear, bhaya. And really look at the situation. A very strange, I'll see exactly what the words are of the storyteller here. The storyteller tells us that we are fearful of fear. We are fearful of fear. And the taste, the senses, and all of this. Because death is present 24 hours. And they say, life is every day, death is just once. So don't be afraid of death. Just live life, enjoy life, live a full life. And so when we really begin to understand any of the sutras, as much as many people think that what is presented to us is a negative aspect, I think no, that a negative aspect is not presented. What is presented is how to become free of the negative way in which we live, so we can actually live. We don't live. Truthfully, when we ask ourselves, we live? No, we don't live. You're always worried about the next thing that I have to do, the next place that I have to go to. And this is how life has become. And so we go to de-stress. And then we become stressed from the de-stressing, and then we come home to de-stress. Seriously, look at it. How many people go on vacation, come back completely exhausted, and then want to relax at home? And then they try to get home by Saturday, so they have Saturday and Sunday to get all ready for Monday. So I told the youth yesterday, I said, you have to come to a place in life where you enjoy what you do. Otherwise, Devani uses another word. Is that a strong word? Today is World Environment Day. I don't know who came up with it, but I got an email from Magod that I know that we're going to celebrate World Environment Day. The young children of the Shanti Mandir Magod are doing a little presentation at Satsang for the adults to understand environment. So toxic, when I thought of this word, environment comes into mind, of course, because there is the pollution in the world, but there is what the scripture wants to tell us, the constant toxicity that we create. Last night when we got out of the car, I told Fernando, you leave the doors open for a few minutes while we put everything away. And he said, really? I said, yes, because I said, we've sat in this car for 5+ hours. So there's BO, and he laughed. And then I said, and there's, passing of gases, methane, and toxic, whatever, energy. And I always tell whoever goes from here to pick somebody up at the airport or whether we go, that the vehicle should be clean, It should be, they say, but it's going to get dirty. I said, yes, it's going to get dirty. You get dirty every day, but you still must shower. You must wear clean clothes. You must look nice. Because otherwise, you will just carry this. Because many people, the argument I have with them, they say, I showered before I went to sleep. I showered last night before I went to sleep, and I didn't do anything in the night. So when I wake up, I'm fresh. I said, well, start studying science. What all happens inside your body. The cleansing, the purification. The liver has its time. The kidney has its time. The other organs have their time. So when you wake up in the morning, in the Indian tradition, we are taught when you wake up, the first thing you go is you go. To the outhouse, okay, I'll use. And many people say, no, I just go once a week. Maybe twice. Because, people say that. And I'm like, no. It's Lawarji loves this saying. He said, 1 time is a yogi, 2 times is a bhogi, 3 times is a rogi. Meaning if you go once a day, you are a yogi. That means you are within all of the norms of the quantities and all of that. If you go twice a day, you are into sense pleasures. And if you are going more than twice, 3 times, you are a sick person. I mean, there's something physically wrong with you. And if you're not going, then you better go see the doctor. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that each night, every night, the body is going through its process of elimination. Same thing that we're talking about here. We're talking about a more subtle elimination, becoming conscious of all of those things. And at least I feel that every time, like I tell people, okay, I have a lot of anger. I'm talking about personally now. Okay? Through words or whether it's through a bodily action. Devyani will sometimes share the story she loves, I say, about the child and the nail and all of that. So I'm sure you've all heard it. So anyway. So each one of us, whatever it is my fear, whatever is my angst, whatever it is that, is the limiting factor of my life. Because all of this that I wrote actually limits the individual. The fear limits us. The hatred limits us. The jealousy limits us. Whatever else was there. It limits us because now all of a sudden I want to hide because I said the wrong thing. I did the wrong thing. When do I have no fear? When I am not doing anything wrong. And there is a fake concept also of not doing anything wrong. Because some people are arrogant about that. What do you think? I did wrong. No, I didn't do anything wrong. Yes, you did wrong. You hurt so many people. So many people are upset. So many people are divided. Is first of all yourself come together, meaning be whole. Right now we are like this, There's so many parts of me. And each day I wake up, So the whole process of meditation is to slowly, eventually find all of this that limits me and become whole and complete. Then no matter what the situation is that arises in life, it doesn't disturb, it doesn't bother. Because you are, in the word that again, for which there is no English is sukha. And the way I describe it is comfortable within myself. And again, don't take this in the wrong way. Don't take this in the arrogant or the egoistic way. Take it in the real way. So when, again, the word, I use affection. So when you are actually comfortable within yourself, or I should probably say oneself here, If you are comfortable within I just realized yourself, oneself, myself. When you are in that place, it's wonderful. And think about it and ask yourself, who do you like to go be with? When you drop all of these things that I had drawn before, when you drop them all, we want to go to a person in whose company we feel comfortable. And again, our society lacks this today. So all of that which we feel is negatively in society is because I shared last week about well-being, wellness. I shared with the youth yesterday, I said we need such places. There used to be ashrams, there used to be temples, there used to be churches, there used to be all of these so-called religious places. But unfortunately for us, in our time today, they are not that, because we have brought our toxicity into that space, and the people in those spaces are not spiritually strong that they can push away your toxicity. That's how it used to be. If you imagine going into the company of Bhagavan Nityananda, one-man show. Of course, there were people around him, but he himself was the person comfortable within himself. Lying on the stone, sitting on the chair, fruits and flowers and coconuts by him, and nothing bothered him. There's lots of stories associated, but I think the stories really, it's like an entertainment for the mind. Has nothing really to do with what real was going on. And this is why sometimes when people think, oh, we should read this book, we should read that book, and I say, reading the book is just one more story you're going to put into your mind. Then you're going to go to meet some great being, and you're going to think, is he going to do that? A being who's established in this place of yoga, chitta vritti nirodha, he will not cater to your mind, he will not play with those games. He will simply remain in what our sages say, Atma Rama Bhavati. I think it comes on the Bhakti Sutras, Yajnatva Matto Bhavati, Stabdo Bhavati, Atma Rama Bhavati. What? Completely still. Because now all his or she is doing is reveling in the self. The only place they want to be is in the self. And when we come into their presence, into their company, what they want us to do, where they want us to go to, is that place of the self. The rest is just waste of time. I've shared this often here. Swami Brahmananji Maharaj, with whom we spent from 1985 to 2005, almost, I think that's 20 years. And in the early days when we didn't have ashrams, we would sit with him in the early morning, about 8 o'clock, and the sadhya would finish. Women would come with these little containers, like the breakfast was just for Maharaji, but then I would always look like, hopefully we get a piece of this snack or whatever it is that's come to him. But he was always very kind. He always shared, and he always told his attendant to bring what else. And it was all kept under his bed. Yeah, we would get worried. We'd have a pantry, a cabinet, a lock, and all of that. But to him, it didn't matter. And then he would always say, empty her container, give it back to her. And then sometimes a woman would sit down. She'd just come from an hour of Swadhyaya, an hour of Upanishad, an hour of really deep study of the scripture, with her little prasad for Maharaji. And then she would start her, frustration, her envy, or her jealousy, or her hatred, or whatever it was about whatever that was going on, the family drama at home. Because this is back, we're talking about in the 80s, so there would be 2 or 3 brothers living together, which means 2 or 3 sisters-in-law living together, their children, his children, and all of that. So 6, 8, 9, 10 people was just normal. And then if the in-laws were there, there was an added bonus. So like 10, 15 people in one 3-bedroom flat, apartment. And so she said, Maharaji, ta 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 ta, and he would listen. And he would always have a small pocket book of the Bhagavad Gita. That's how he would spend his early morning. He would do his japa, meditation, and all that. And while people came to meet him, he would have his little book, which he would be studying. And he would say, Krishna says, the lady, because she's just come from an hour of Swadhyaya, there's all this, what I wrote earlier, going on within her. But Maharaji is in that state of Brahmananda. And so he would just read whatever it was he was reading, and he would say, Bahut acha, jao. And the lady would pranam, the attendant would give the container, she would get up and go. And I would think, no actual transaction in the way we think took place. Her question was not answered. Her problem was not resolved. It's like in the modern day world, we would say, he didn't take, but the lady would leave satisfied. And then she'd come back the next day, 24, sometimes 48 hours later. Maharaji! And restart in a new way. A similar problem. Of course, Maharaji again, look in his book, and Krishna says. And over time I realized, I don't know how long it took me to realize, but I realized that Maharaji, instead of falling into her pit, I would say, or sewage, would instead elevate her to thinking about whatever it is that has been written by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. She's already heard an hour or whatever of the Upanishad outside from the Swami who was, every month they have a different Swami who comes through and speaks in the mornings for 1 hour, speaks in the evening for 1 morning is a serious scriptural study. In the evening is an hour of satsang. So there's swadhyaya in the morning where they just take, like we have one sutra and there's everybody sitting with books, and these were all people who'd been coming there since the time of Swami Maheshwaranji Maharaj, so almost 20, 25 years. Every morning before they went to work, wherever they were going to go, come and sit for an hour of swadhyaya in the morning, an hour of satsang in the evening. And so therefore, that reiteration in a constant reminder, I tell whether it is some teaching from somewhere, and even if it makes no sense, but it gives you goosebumps because you don't understand. But you understand it at a much deeper level, which 30, 40 years later down the road, it will make sense to you. So again, how do we get here? Basically, you would have to then become free of fear, which is what the Tibetan story said. I'll share a simple story here. A frog and a snake. Now, both the stories are animals today, or birds. No donkeys, Ingrid. A snake is proud of the fact that, you have bit him, and so he dies. He doesn't die from your venom. Now, for anybody who's a scientist, don't try to go too far into any of this. But frog says, the man, the human, is filled with fear. So the snake says, prove it to me. So they said, okay, let's sit by the roadside. When the person walks by, you sting him and I'll jump out in front. So a human being is walking by, the snake stings him, and the frog jumps out and he goes, it's just a frog. He scratches himself, keeps walking, and he goes. Now, I don't know if a frog stings, but whatever it is, in the Indian frogs pee. I don't know the Western frogs pee, but and that pee leaves that little boil on you. So the frog says, okay, now next. When somebody else comes, I'll do what I do. And it drops dead right there. Whether he actually dies or not, it's, whether 911 was around, I don't know. But anyway, the frog looks at the snake and says, see? And when we really begin to think of it, what media has done to us today is filled us with fear. And we have all become full of knowledge, but the knowledge is full of fear. Anyone you talk to, you're always worried about as if death will not come to me. It's certain. It's just when, how, where. We had Volker Graul, who just died a week or 2 weeks ago, right? On the 15th, he had a heart condition, and he'd driven into the hospital a few times before in the years we've known him. And this time he drives into a hospital, but a different hospital than the one he would normally go to. And somebody recommends him to a doctor, professor. I guess there are people who are professors and doctors who teach and practice. So they say, he's good. He teaches and he practices. So he has some kind of surgery, and he goes into a coma. The German police have the job of going home and telling the family that, there's a situation in the hospital. The hospital doesn't call you, the police comes. So Eva said, the police, she had just returned from Czech the night before, which is her hometown, and police comes in the morning and says, your husband is in the hospital and there's an issue, you have to come. So she goes. She meets the doctor. The doctor says, I'm so sorry, I performed the same mistake 25 years ago. And today, unfortunately, or yesterday, the same mistake took place in your husband. He said, I asked him, what happened to that person? Of course, you're not going to get a reply. So Volker was for about 7 days on a heart and ventilator, or a lung and ventilator machine. I talked to Eva about every other day, every couple of days, and I think Devi and I talked in between. And you're going to talk a couple of times. And she'll be like, he has a girlfriend. The girlfriend has an 8-year-old daughter. Eva has, of course, 4 children from him. And what do you think? What do you think? He would be 70 on the 18th of June. So he's young. And I didn't say anything because to me, mostly once you go on a machine, it's just a matter of time. Sitaram also, I think, was on the machine for about 20 days. So on Friday, I wrote a little note. I said, Eva, okay, this was a man we knew, we'd driven with him from Munich to home at, 300 plus kilometers an hour with the steering on one thigh, coffee in one hand, phone on the other. And he loved it. He loved to check your fear. It was a purple-colored S600. We all loved cars. We all loved driving. Devian is also just an excellent guy. It would be tempting to tell him, Volker, why don't you have your coffee and take your phone? And Devyani will drive, and she doesn't want to drive. I'll drive. We'll be a few kilometers slower than you, but you cannot tell that to him because he is a man. So, but it was okay. It was fun because, one, I think over the years we learned to trust him because he had proven himself. So I wrote this message on Friday. I said, Eva, do you think you would like to live like a vegetable? Because anybody whose brain has been affected, it's not we out of our own selfishness. I told the children yesterday, was it unselfishness? That was a word. We out of our own selfishness want that the person I love lives. And doctor, what can you do? What is possible so that he or she can live? What? So on Friday I wrote a note. I said, Eva, I think for the man that I know as Volker, this would be horrible. It's just. But I thought I can't send it because there is hope that he will live. He will come out. The machine will just do some magic. So Sunday morning, all of a sudden, I don't know. I got up and I decided to check, if there was a message. And there was a missed call. So it's 5:30 a.m. here. I called and Eva said, he's bleeding. There's difficulty. She talked like with pauses. And the second son, Andy, has to make a decision on what to do. So I said, Eva, I have a message. I'm going to send it to you, and can you show it to Andy? So she sent a message back, and he agrees with you. The message was really simple, 3 lines, because we've known each other now for almost 40, 50 years. We've lived together, we've traveled together. And when you've been together so much, and if you have a good relationship and none of those first few things that I wrote come into play, you realize that for me, I feel I have come to a place within myself. There is no axe to grind. There is no, you just got to live ready to die tomorrow or today. Not think that I have another X years, which is what I always see people negotiating with God or with whoever. It's like, okay, if I, that Putreshna, Lokeshna, Vitteshna, these are what the scriptures have said. This is what is driving us. But they are not real, those drivers. So then I spoke to Eva later in the day, and she said, the girlfriend thinks, miracle, magic, because that's how Folker had been all through his life, miracle, magic. And Eva said, but we have made a decision. In the 3:30 German time, his life will conclude. So I told Divyani, I said, we'll chant the Vishnu Sahasranam here around that time, which will be afternoon or evening. It will be morning in Magod. So as they do their morning prayers, they'll pray. But I think around,
an hour before.
No, I think it was 6:30 p.m. German time on a Sunday evening, which is 12:30 our time here. We got a message, he just passed naturally. They didn't have to turn the machines off. So I said, Eva, good. The lady cannot blame you that you killed her daughter's father. And for all of you, he just passed. He was a amazing businessman and good father. Eva may not agree with me on that, but it's okay. And very supportive to us, Shanti Mandir, especially when it was just Divyani and myself, and full of guts and all of, like I said, he proved his love and his whatever you want to say it. And also a really good scholar of Kashmir Shaivism. He has notes in his puja room. And his name was Pashupati, the name given by Baba Muktananda. The name given to Eva was Kalyani. And what's amazing, they have their third son who's a Down syndrome. Now medically, Eva was told she would never conceive. And so she had her first son, Rene, who's now 50. Andy was probably 45. Flori, who just will be 31, or is 31. And Milana, who must be is younger. So when Flori was born, in Germany, even, this was I think 91, Volker called us and said, okay, we were in Livingston, I think at the time, said, he was fine, the baby is fine, but the baby is mongoloid, which means down. So I said, oh, okay. And I looked up what it actually meant, and of course, you've seen all of those around, but now all of a sudden here you have this child. And Flori is funny. He's funny in the sense his connection to Bhagwan, connection to the Guru. I always think, each one of us thinks, I'm connected to the Guru. But when you see him, first of all, he has to like you and accept you. If he doesn't like you and accept you, he's like, thank you, bye. You can say as much as you want, so-and-so is such an, yes, okay, Gurudev, let's go. He doesn't want to be in the toxicity of that individual. Now, this is a very amazing thing. I try to often think about this and share about this when I talked about energy and toxicity. It's a very, because I have this dilemma myself in life. You see somebody, you don't even know them, and you go, oh my God, I have to get out of here. And they're very well dressed, everything is perfect societally. And then you see somebody totally opposite, whom you technically want to run away from, but then, like Swami Harishchandra Puriji last night, I said, he's very, the Hindi word I use is pyara, dear. And when I went, we did Namona and all that, and he stood, he said, nice to see you. I grabbed him and I hugged him. Not normally done in our traditional culture, but I just felt, he's also a character. And I always think, as I've said here oftentimes, that there is the peculiarity and there is the speciality. Each one of us is peculiar in our own way. Each one of us is special in our own way. And there's nothing wrong with the peculiarity. It is just that sometimes we abuse it. We, as the individual, abuse that. No, use that. It's a gift. You just have to know. So, anyway, Flory, we're here in Walden, are not having a car, but she's still angry with me at that. She forgets everything else. But this is another amazing thing, which I wonder about and ask. How do we choose what do I let go of and what do I hold on to? Study of the Patanjali is just most amazing. Klesha, Klishta, Aklishta. What we had last week, what was that? Aheyam Dukkam Anagataha. Somebody wrote to Devyani, but trouble comes to me uninvited. I don't invite. Trouble comes to all of us. But how do I handle that trouble? So I think some years ago, Flory was here, Eva was here, and then Eva said, I'm going to go shopping. But Flory doesn't like shopping because he thinks it's a waste of time. So Eva said, what do we do with him? I said, just leave him with me and we'll handle it. I had a lazy boy at the time and I gave him a chair. I sat on the lazy boy and he's like, Bhagwan. So put Bhagwan on the YouTube, on the TV. And so I put Bhagwan. And then he looked at me one time and says, can you get water? I said, okay. I got up, I went to get water. He quickly transferred to the lazy boy and he told me, you sit on that chair. Okay. And then, YouTube has lots of videos, pictures of Bhagwan, and some have people talking. And as soon as somebody talking comes on, you go, no. Don't need, he didn't say this, but basically it's like, don't need to hear this nonsense. We want to just hear. He has some songs memorized, he has some bhajans memorized, some kirtans memorized, and he knows that. Whenever we talk to him, Devyani, last time he was here, it was Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. Yeah, Manana. So about a month ago when I talked to him, he said, where is Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana? And for a moment I'm like, what? This is Vedanta. And then Eva reminded me, she said, it's Devyani. She's the one who taught him, so he's asking where. Instead of asking, where is Devyani? Or sometimes it's like, Frau Kimberly, where is Mrs. Cable? It's like random, And then I take this sutra, I take it to Flory, and I think to myself, how do we get here? How do we get to this place of freedom? Because we are so caught up in our whole game. And then that evening, Eva went out to dinner with Devyani. So morning we spent 3 hours. Again in the evening, and there's a DVD of Bhagwan. So I thought, okay, I'll just put that DVD on. I'm not going to go looking on YouTube again and again. And sometimes he wants a repeat of. There's one really beautiful arti from a festival, and it's full. He loves the gongs and the bells and the big drum. And so he loves it. And you have to play it loud. And that's his therapy. Music and dance and just sweat. And he calls it the wellness program. So that day, I don't know, I think after that day we started singing the second part of the Nityanarti that we sing now. Sada, Sarvada, and Yoga Tuja Vava. And I don't know, I just felt all of a sudden that day that those few verses came alive for me. Especially the last one, Tuze Paya Maze Bhala. That, oh Mother, oh Guru, the only blessing I seek is that your feet be on my head. Now, I think of this in the most amazing way. What here the poet saint wants to tell us, be so free of ego. Be so free of ego. Be so humble that you are able to allow the Guru to put his feet on your head. Now, whether it's the physical feet, whether it is hands, whether it is grace. So, when we pranam, when we bow, we all pranam, we bow in our own funny ways. Somebody goes, and somebody stays there for like as if there's going to be a big shock or experience or whatever. And I tell people, okay, and then Ishwar says, Devache dwari ubhakshana bhari. We read in the Gita, Karmana manasa vacha nityam aradhayed gurum. That worship the Guru through your karma, through your actions, through your speech, karmana vacha, through your mind, constantly. Like so what is it? So it's like one of the yamas and niyamas is speak the truth. So how do I speak the truth? What is the truth? The truth is then to take the teachings in such a way that you apply them in daily life. And so what you are doing in your activity in life, whatever it is that you're performing, is truthful. And what happens to most of us, you must have seen the emoji with a circle on top. And I looked up one day what it means. It means it's a halo on top of your head. And I have always thought of it means my mind is going bonkers. So usually I used it in that way. I still use it in that way. And it's like, well, I want to tell somebody, you're driving me nuts. So you can't write that, you're driving me nuts. So I send them this. Or I send them those big eyes, like, what in the world are you talking about? It's like, why not? I tell people, who said to you emoji only expresses that? It expresses me, the person who's sending it, not what the creator has created. He created what he or she wanted to, and that was their thought in their mind. But this is my creation. That the round thing on the head means my head is going round and round. And again, you have to become free of the fear. And really think of it. Like, no, you can't do that. Who said who can do that? I was talking to Dana and Larry the other day. I said, discipline, regulation is good. It's made so that society flows. Things flow. But sometimes, I won't say, but you just understand. But be wise. Be smart. Don't be stupid. Don't be an idiot. Don't be silly. And that applies to all of this. So when you read stories of any of these great sages, more than looking at it in the miraculous or magical way, look at the most practical teaching that sage offers in that situation, in that moment. Even when you study Patanjali, whether you study the Brahma Sutra, whatever it is that you're studying, don't get so uptight about it. Think of the freedom that it offers. Rather than getting upset that why can't I be comfortable within myself, or why can't I become free of fear, think to yourself, okay, tomorrow I'm going to be free of fear. It could just be one little thing. Maybe walking on the gravel or on the lawn with no shoes. That's a fear many city people have. How do you walk on this? What do you mean? Walk. No, and put your foot down. No, they can't. They're like, the lawn isn't going to do anything to you. It's just going to tickle you. We had a naturopath from Mexico here, and I think it was exercise, right? He gave him 1 hour.
Every morning, yeah.
Every morning, all his patients, you'd see all these people in the morning. What are you doing? I'm walking on the grass. I'm like, what? I know. And so they were doing, it's like, and they're watching, okay, 38 minutes, 39 minutes, 20 more minutes. It's like, come on. The whole point is lost if that's how you're doing it. You have to do it because it's fun. You have to do it because you enjoy it. I tell people meditation is the same thing. Sometimes you'll sit and you don't want to meditate. So I say, get up. Go sweep and mop the house. Go work in the yard if it's daylight. Or whatever it is that needs doing. Don't just sit there meditating. Oh, cursing the guru that the mantra is not working today, you know. And then you call Dana and say, what's wrong? Huh? You told me at this time it's not happening. Simple, just get up, grab a mop, grab a broom, grab a bucket of water, clean the windows. Otherwise you wasted 59.5 minutes. Because the first half minute is good, you know. It's like, oh, for the first half minute, it's like, okay, we're going to meditate. It's like in our temple here in Srinivas, all these young people, as soon as they realize it's meditation, they all slowly. And then it's like, oh! It's like, hello. I have really important things to do. And what is that? Not to meditate. And then you'll have somebody who will be like, I was like, could you have done that 3 minutes ago? It just is the fluctuation of the mind. It's the modification of the vritti. So first, I would say to get here, become strong. And how do I mean strong? I would say grounded. And then become. So for all of us who've been together for all these years, first of all, get rid of that halo around your head. You know, get rid of this thing. I'm just coming out of meditation. Seriously, I mean, it's technically I'm not against anything. I'm game for it all. But I'm game for it all. I'm game in the sense that I think life should be enjoyed. Life should be lived to the fullest. And you should figure out what is worthless, get rid of it, become free of it. And you should learn that sooner rather than later, not on your deathbed. You know, as much as you can, as you move along, as you traverse the path of life, slowly get rid of, become free. Easier said than done, but it's possible. Our society today teaches us to accumulate. But look on YouTube and look at where all of those things that you give away end up. They end up in countries that used to like it, but now they also don't want it because they have too much, because you've sent so much. This is a pristine country. Even you were telling us yesterday, and you're going, you look, there's all this forest, there are all these beautiful places. But then we're sending our trash to other countries. In those countries, then we say, oh, they are third world countries. They are third world countries because we're making them that way. Because we're sending all our different kinds of trash, whether it's clothes, whether it's computers, whether it's cars, whether it's whatever. For many of you might remember, I think, I don't know, it was 10, 20 years ago when there was a barge on the Hudson River with trash, which nobody would claim. And it floated in the river for many days, and I don't know finally what happened. I don't subscribe to the New York Times, so I don't have an update. But you know, those things then quietly, they make them disappear. Whoever it is, it's like, okay, you know. But ultimately, whose trash is it? It's ours. All of us. I shared with the children yesterday some questions, which I'm sure I've shared here at Satsang before. I said, you begin to think about what is called mindful consumption. How much water do you take in the glass? Do your gifts have to be wrapped if it's for you? You buy a gift for yourself, do you have to get it wrapped? What do you do when you're at the buffet? We experience that here at the picnic. It's like take everything you can just in case they run out. And what do you do at the, takeout when the guy gives you so many napkins, so many forks, so many knives, so many spoons? You could just say, you know what, I don't need any silverware. And it's just amazing. Like yesterday we were at Swamiji's and then we had dokla. And dokla, I mean, it's a thing that you hit by hand. It's like, fork, 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 spoon, 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 fork, fork. I looked at the lady, I said, no, we don't need anything. We just use our fingers. I mean, it's an Indian there. And she looks at like, just because we're in the USA and the USA eats some things with forks or spoons or knife. And blah, blah, blah. So today, being World Environment Day, actually would be a good thing to begin to ponder, to think, to ask ourselves, what is it that I'm doing? What is it that's going on? I'll end with a verse which says, Satsangatvena nisangatvam, nisangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischalatatvam, nischalatatve jivana muktihi. Sage here says, go to satsang. Makes sense, doesn't make sense, just go. Because as you keep going to satsang, it will slowly cut that thread that ties you into this world. It will, make you free from, it will bring you to this place of being strong, being grounded, being free of fear. Fear comes from what? He says, moha, delusion. And how can you be free of moha or delusion? Is when you have become free of that noose that ties you. And then what it brings you to a place of steadiness, to a place, we could say again, of being grounded. It is Jivan Mukti. Swami Vishweshanji yesterday when he talked about Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, he said these are three efforts that we put forth. Dharma is what is it that I want to do in this life? What is the purpose? Artha is wealth. And I always say wealth should be associated with Dharma. Wealth should be such that it's beneficial not only to you, but beneficial to everyone. Just having wealth, just having money in the bank account doesn't do anything. We know so many people all over the world who, as far as wealth goes, have plenty, but they don't have sukha. And you'll find somebody who doesn't have all of the material things, but they have sukha. Kama, desire, want, need, however you want to translate it as, should be so that it takes me to Jivan Mukti or Moksha. So it doesn't get me caught and trapped. Modern day society again doesn't teach us the tools for any of this. It only teaches us how to get more trapped and more caught. No school, I think, in the world anywhere actually discusses Om. I'm okay, there are a few schools now, but they are so far in between. It's like the 300,000 who signed up. No, 3 million, right? 3 million? 3 million who signed up for the wellness class with the professor at Yale. But what is 3 million when we are 7.5 billion? There's so many more of us that need to take the wellness program. Seriously, I'm not joking. Shanti, yeah, please take her. She's asking you. So anything that's happening out in society, let us all think of this sutra, yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. How do we, amongst the way, I mean, this is not the first time we've heard this sutra. We've heard this sutra plenty of times, umpteen times. But what other way can I look at it? And this is the first time I have explained it like this. I woke up this morning, because I've been thinking of it for the last 4 days. I want to express this in a different way, And I have not even, I brought Swamiji's book, which many of you here told me it's Enlightened Living. Yes, it is Enlightened Living. And I thought I'd read from there, but I'm not sitting, so I don't have time to hold the book. And of course, it's all because I have sat and read. And that's why all these markings, all these notes, all these thoughts. And what I share here with the teachers here is that we don't want to just sit there and take that sutra and dissect it, because we are not Sanskrit grammarians. Because you need the dhr dhatu or the whatever it is, the root from which that word comes. They study a book called Amar Kosha. The Amar Kosha is like, kitne honge usme shabd? Kafi, nahi? A Sanskrit student has to first learn, like just memorize Amar Kosha. Once he memorizes Amar Kosha, then he memorizes Laghu Siddhanta. When he memorizes Laghu Siddhanta, or he memorizes Panini. He has to decide according to his teacher, according to his taste. It's like, which path am I going to take? I'm going to take the Navi Vyakaran, I'm going to take the this Vyakaran. It's like, so that 10, 15 years are gone just in that, in just trying to fit into. And then the teacher might say, maybe he knows something. We interview on a regular basis to get new grammar teachers of Sanskrit or new literature teachers. We try to interview other teachers. And then the elder acharyas who interview him say, he doesn't even know the basics yet. And he's already got a degree, an MA, he's got a B.Ed. And the acharya who's been teaching for 25 years says, no, put him on hold. Of course, you cannot tell him that. But then there are some desperate places that need that person. So he goes and he applies there. He gets a job. He starts teaching. And it's unfortunate that all this is happening. We've made everything a business. Education is just as much a business. It's not about education. It's not about making someone blossom. And so therefore, we find society in the place that we find it in. So let not any one of us think that it's not possible. I would say it's possible. It's possible. We have to put forth the effort. Many like status quo. Many like the easy way. Many like the simple way. But no, if you're really a seeker, get out of your comfort zone. Become naked. Expose yourself. And I don't mean naked in the sense of clothes, but all of those things that we talked about. Get rid of all of the crutches that you hold on to. And see, when I stand, how do I stand? Not taking, how much toxicity do I have inside myself? Am I one of those people where somebody can just come and want to be in my company? Not because of anything physical that takes place, not because of anything that happens on the outside, but something far, much deeper. That even you as the giver has no idea, and the person as the receiver has no idea. As soon as you say, I did a great job, know that you have not done a great job, because you have to endorse it. Seriously. Because many people often tell me that. Don't you think I was good? When Vinay played here, I think for the Shiv Kumar's memorial, right? I think we'll call it, 2-3 weeks ago. And I said to the audience, I said, that music that day took us to a place of quiet, a place of stillness. And then a couple of days later, Vinay sent me a little clip of Shiv Kumarji himself speaking and saying, we as musicians know we have arrived. These are not his exact words, but his basic thing is we know we have arrived when we have finished our music and the audience does not applaud. Because I am in that experience. And the program that he was playing for that night, written behind him, was Anubhav, experience. So he said, that's a wonderful word. Because he said, that's what we as musicians want to transmit. So I always tell our audience, whether it's satsang, you can appreciate through the eyes. You can appreciate through your smile. You can appreciate through your being. What is an applause? An applause is an external noise that only causes distraction. I mean, I love it in Kirtan when the harmonium, the drum, the cymbals, the singing, we are all in sync. And there's not a single person out of sync or out of beat. And that's rare. There's always some one person who decides to be the bold one. And you can try and talk to them and tell them, this is, I was right on beat. And sometimes people tell me, did you explain to them? I said, what should I explain? No, that they weren't on beat. I said, I thought I did. No, did you actually? I said, well, after a few times, I do actually verbalize. I try first through the eyes, through the smiles, through the nice, all of the PC, polite ways. And then one day you have to just go. Baba didn't waste time like that. He just, first time, get out. It's like, so, that's version 1 today. Coming up next Sunday, hopefully it will be version 2, if there is. If not, Patanjali will provide us with a new sutra to provide version 2. Because like I said, if it doesn't speak to me in that morning, then none of that is of any use. And there's enough in there, in the years being with Baba and on, that I tell people 1 to 2 hours is easy. A few quotes, a few stories, a bhajan or two. I have actually a bhajan or two, but we won't even get there today. There's enough material that he has given us. And not just by study, but what Vedanta calls nididhyasana, but actually trying to live, making it alive for yourself. So it's not just a sutra or a shloka or a chant in the book, but we're imagining, like when we chanted now, Narayana, Narayana, Hari Bol. Imagining that for so many years, so many people in so many parts of the world are singing that Narayana, 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 Narayana. And so when we sing, we shouldn't think that it is me, I, us here in this room singing. We have to realize that those vibrations already exist in the atmosphere. Because sages before us, sages today, sages after us, people like us before, today, after, will sing. And so all we are doing, I don't know if you do it here in the West so much, but in India sometimes they take the mobile phone and they do this. And you ask them what is going on, they say looking for a signal. And I think when we chant, we do the same thing. We're doing Narayana, Narayana. No, we're looking for that transmission signal to come into our receiver. And the day it connects, sometimes it's just a few seconds and boom, it's gone. And sometimes it's the entire chant from the time it begins till the time it ends. And sometimes it lasts for a few days, a few weeks. And then sometimes that memory, that seed is instilled in you, and you think of that day and of that chant, and it gives you goosebumps some years later. Because that experience of yagnatva matto bhavati stabdo bhavati atma ramo bhavati has happened in that moment on that day, that you touched that place within yourself of the Atman, of consciousness. So we'll do our Om and Ekta Mantra. Thank you all for listening, and I hope I made some sense. If not, it doesn't matter, we have next Sunday. But it matters. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Samidhyuvase Vishandagne Vishwa Nevya Ilaspade Samidhyase Sano Vasunyavala Samgad Samvadadvam Samvo Manaam Sijanatam Deva Bhagam Yatha Purve Sanjanana Upasate Samano Mantra Samiti Samani Samanam Mana Sahachittame Esham Samana Mantram Abhimantra Eva Samane Navo Havishajuhomi Samani Va Akuti Samana Hridayani Vaha Samanamastu Vo Mano Yata Va Harihi Om. Om Dhyauh Shantiran Tarikshagum Shantihi Prithivi Shantir Apaha Shantir Okadayaha Shantir Shantir Devaha Shantir Brahma Shantihi Sarvagum Shantihi Shantireva Shantihi Sama Shantiredhi Yato Yataha Samihase Tato no Abhayam Kuru Shannaha Kuru Prajabhyo Mayannaha Vashubhyaha Om Shanti 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 Sushanti Bhavatu Vishta Sarvopadlava Shanti Rastu Sadguruna Maharaj Ki Jai. That you do come back next week on Sunday for version 2 and the following Sunday for version 3. As you can see, not to be missed. And also, I like to always remind everybody that remember that all of Gurudev's talks and all of our Sunday satsangs, and especially like one today, all of that remains up on YouTube. So you can go back to it if there was something that you wanted to go take a re-look at it, or you want to share it with somebody. Feel free to do that. It's all on the Shanti Mandir YouTube channel. So make sure to make the most of it. Everybody this morning's invited to come up for darshan, followed by lunch prasad. And as I mentioned, Gurudev will be departing the ashram at 2 p.m. To make his way down to Queens. And then this upcoming week, we'll continue to receive all of the visitors and all of the participants for the course and get everyone settled in. And by next weekend, on Saturday, June 11th, we'll be commencing the course and very much looking forward to it. And as you can see, Gurudev's already preparing and getting into a whole nother mode of transmission. So we're all very fortunate and looking forward to every single day of the course and that which it's going to offer to us. So we look forward to seeing everyone else on Sundays, the 2 Sundays, and I believe that's all for now. So enjoy your darshan and lunch, and we'll see everyone next weekend. Sadgurunad Maharaj Ki Jai. I'm actually inspired by Devyani because last night when we left Satsang, we just came by memory. No GPS. And I think it was like partway through, I said, Devyani, that's pretty good. You know, driving down, the GPS kept offering us Springbrook, Sawmill, and he's like, what do you do? I said, just go. I said, it's okay. I said, we've done all these. And Fernando was trying to understand where is, what. And I said, Fernando, we've done this since 1987. As in those were the days of maps and before Google. And I said, all these young kids think they're really smart. I said, no, they're dumb. Because if Google doesn't connect, they're like, oh, what do I do? So what I want to say when Divyan just said that he's gone into a different mode, I'm going into the off GPS mode. Trying to find my own rhythm, as they say. So anyway, we'll have fun. I don't have actually much to do in the course. Thanks. No. I'm going to do more on Sundays because I have a bigger audience. Because the course will be all these 50-year-old seniors, travelers on the path, maybe a couple of new ones, but mostly all people who've been. So, anyway, enjoy your rice and beans. That's what's for lunch. Right?